Yo.
What up? What up?
What up, man? Yo, this is gonna get dangerous, bro. Is this the first time in the history of the pod? I know it's not, but where we can make the drink on the fly here?
It ain't the first time, but this is pretty simple.
It's pretty simple. And yeah.
Yeah, if you like... Well, we'll get into that. Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, I got a little ahead of myself. I saw the ice thing. I got excited.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Common Football Podcast. We was off last week, but you know how it is. He's Juan and I'm Sean, and every week, or most weeks, we get together, have a few drinks, talk about things going on in the world, try to focus on things making an impact, whether they be good, bad, or otherwise. Hit him with the drink of the day.
Oof. I don't even know. What are we calling this?
I don't know. We got to pick a name for it.
We do have to pick a name for it, but this stuff is delicious, man. We got 21 seeds. It is a cucumber jalapeno blanco tequila. We threw that. We stopped measuring. We started with a shot and a half, and now we're just pouring. So let's go shot and a half. Then you top the rest of it off with ginger beer, squeeze a lime into it, and that's it. Straight to the point. That's why we're making it here at the table. We don't have to. You don't even have to stir this thing. It's still fire, man.
Yeah,
if you do,
really
use your
good.
finger. It's minimal tools, minimal for the people that give a shit about making the fancy drinks. It don't get much simpler than this, and it is awesome.
Yeah, and I love it, man, because it has the aroma. So before you take the drink, you smell the cucumber, like that's infused in the tequila. And then when you drink it, like the ginger beer coupled with the jalapeno infused also in the tequila gives it that spice. Yeah. And then with the lime, this
it's like spicy refreshing.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to. That doesn't sound like it go together, but that's what it is. That's what it is, man.
Yeah, man. So definitely try it out. Ginger beer. I think we're using what are we using here? Barrett's. Ginger beer, but it doesn't matter.
Good.
Any ginger beer will do. But this 21 seeds one, and they have another like a citrus infused tequila as well that I haven't tried. Mm-hmm. But I saw this one, and we always enjoy the kind of spicy stuff.
Yeah.
So this one hits. If you like spicy stuff, definitely try this out. This one's really good.
I'm wondering how this will go with that. You know that jalapeno. Now I'm thinking about the jalapeno liqueur we got, or that pepper liqueur we got.
Oh yeah, the one that we made the other drink with.
Yeah, like you throw in a little bit, or unless it's too much, it might be too much. I wonder, but this stuff is good, man. I never heard of this one, man.
No, man, I was
gonna have to add that to the.
Yeah, I was in the store and I was
rotation.
I was looking around and I was like, of course I passed by the bourbons. They didn't have my my Buffalo Trace.
Oh.
So I went on the tequila aisle and I just saw this one and I was like, oh man, jalapeno with cucumber. Yeah, we're gonna try that out.
It's funny because I've been getting into the tequilas more and more lately too. Like bourbon is my go-to.
Yep.
But then now I've been trying to experiment a little with the tequilas and the mezcals and all that stuff, man. And I think I have definitely a different appreciation because when you're younger, it's like Patron, and then once you start dabbling in tequila, you're like.
Patron's not really that good.
It's not really that good. Yeah. Like it's fine, but it's not like it's like Grey Goose. You know what I mean? Like it's fine. Once you dabble in vodka, you're like, there's a lot of stuff out there. It's like really, really. I mean, vodka
and bourbon's that way.
Yeah. I guess I just didn't have that appreciation for it before, but yeah, with tequila, man, I'm finding now. Like the one we did for our 100th, man, that Casa Dragones was oh my god, so good. Crazy. And I had one recently that was great too. I gotta remember the name to bring it up, but that was really, really good at a low price point, and it was like a fantastic tequila. And the guy told me basically like, no, this is as good quality as like some other bottle that was there that I knew was good.
Oh, really?
And I tried to order that, and he goes like, no, like let me save you half the money, and I'll put you onto this one. And it was good, man. It was he was right. he was right. So hey man, tequila's a slab. This is going on the rotation, man, because it's so simple too, man. I like you just throw it together and just we're just having it up here, man, making it on the fly.
Yeah, and I know you guys, sometimes we be getting a little too fancy.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good, finger stirring drink.
Yeah.
Make it real quick.
You know what I found myself doing is I have a lot of like books and stuff with cocktails, but I find myself at every restaurant that I go to taking pictures of the cocktail menu.
Mm-hmm.
And then trying things like, I have my go-to, like it was usually like an old fashioned, but I find myself now trying like, all right, what can't I have somewhere else, or what sounds different, or what's like the house thing here, or what. And then taking pictures and trying to do the recipes more and more. So it's so fun, man, with the drink thing now. It's like you don't realize how much, like, it's literally an endless supply of liqueurs. And like, in doing this is one of the things I realized, like, you bring bottles all the time, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is, like the type of liqueur or whatever. I'm like, never even heard of it. And it's cool to, like, you know, those names that you see on a menu, I'm like, I can't even pronounce that. And you know, there'll be like some almond liqueur or whatever, and you're like, wouldn't have thought of that. Like,
yeah, no, dude. A couple days ago, man, I had a bottle of, like, I think it was just a bottle of Chardonnay, right? Which I'm not a white wine fan.
Yeah, neither am I.
Someone gave it to me, just unopened, been in the fridge for a while. So I'm just like, you know what? Let me crack it. I looked up a recipe, and it was like mix Chambord with it. Shit was good.
It was good.
Yeah.
So just
Chambord with the glass of wine. I didn't measure. I just kind of like put to taste. Like, you know, I just kind of kept adding the Chambord, like, to taste, until I liked it.
With a Chardonnay.
Yep. And it was good.
That's interesting, man. Yeah, because I just recently, like, I'm not a big white wine person either.
Yep.
And I've recently had some white wines where I'm like, oh, those are actually good. And I took pictures of the labels because I was so surprised.
Ah, okay.
I was like, I never like white wine. So I took pictures of the labels. I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to add that to, like, there's like 2 or 3 white wines that I've had somewhere that I know I got pictures somewhere on my phone where I'm like, okay, I can do that. I can do that. Like, they were actually decent. But yeah, it's normally not my go-to. I'm going to have to try that with the shampoo. Ooh. sound good already? Fuck it. Open it up. Let's go. I got something in here somewhere. We ain't done wine in a while. We might have to.
I know, right? All right, man. Let me hit you with my compliment of the week. It's going out to NASA. For those of you who live in Florida, you may know this, and those of you who are into the whole space thing may know this as well. NASA launched an unmanned flight yesterday. Well, what's today? Is today Wednesday?
Today's Wednesday.
It was today. It was this morning at like 1 a.m., like 1:38 a.m. or something like that. But the flight was an Artemis, which is actually a name of the Greek goddess of,
why does that sound
childbirth.
Oh, that's random.
Yeah.
Is it because you're, I guess, giving birth to a new, era of space flight or something? It's kind of cool.
That's what I'm thinking. I didn't read that anywhere, but I don't know. But this thing was 322 feet tall, 9 million pounds of thrust, coming from 730,000 gallons of liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. That's the fuel.
Oh, really?
730,000 gallons of fuel. Holy shit. Crazy, bro. So this thing was this is kind of like the first step to getting to Mars, essentially, right? Because they're gonna fly it. It's an unmanned flight. They're gonna fly it essentially around the moon and back. And I don't know if it orbits the moon more than once, but it's going around the moon using the moon's gravity to kind of catapult it back to Earth.
Slingshot it back.
Yeah. So it's gonna be traveling 1.3 million miles in 25 days. Wow. Yeah, so it's crazy. There's gonna be, it's gonna come within 60 miles of the moon's surface, and it's outfitted with 16 cameras to get like every angle of everything. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool, man. Yeah.
So really, really cool, man. One of the things, as you know, if anybody lives in Florida or anybody even near here, you know that we've had Hurricane Ian. And then we had Hurricane Nicole just kind of batter us last week. So those were 2 big delays. Well, another delay was that the fuel tanks had leaks, and they had these guys, they call them the Red Crew, and they go in there and they fix the leaks. Well, this thing was already filled up with fuel, and they sent these guys in there to fix the leaks, and the guys were like, man, like we were both hyped. And it was kind of nerve-wracking because we know, like, any kind of false move, like
it's boom,
it's dead. Yeah, that we're all dead. Typically, once they fill that shit up with fuel, everybody goes away.
Yeah, and I've heard that if you scrap a flight, you dump the fuel. Like, you can't. You have to refill it, right? So I've heard like scrapping flights is like millions of dollars in fuel because they can't reuse it. It's something to do with the temperature you have to keep it at or whatever. But
I'm not sure what the it's something like that. I don't know what that is.
Holy shit!
And I used to work out there, right? I should
working in that. Like, we all think our job is high stress, high pressure. Imagine that scenario, dude. Not only that, but like if I don't seal it properly,
right?
I mean, there's no humans on it. But it's still, you're talking about like $1 billion project just down the.
It's set. No, this thing was like I want to say this thing was a few billion.
Yeesh.
I don't have that. I don't have that note in front of me.
Yeah, no, you're that would absolutely make sense, bro. It's be like $3-4 billion or something like that.
But I think this is supposed to be like the first, kind of like it's the unmanned flight, so it's kind of the test. But the ultimate goal is to put men back on the moon, and then essentially make the moon kind of like the landing spot before you go to Mars.
So like the halfway point, you could park it there.
It's
and
not
then launch.
It's not halfway,
but yeah, like a pit stop on the way. It's the rest stop on the way to. Okay, it's funny. There's the movie, the one with Brad Pitt. Don't they do that on? They get to the moon, and in the moon they have like a space station.
I think so, man.
And then they live there and stuff. And then or like there's a station there that people live on.
What movie is that?
And then they launch it.
I saw it.
It's behind you, I think. Ad Astra.
That's it.
Ad Astra.
That's it.
Okay.
Ad Astra. Yep.
Yeah. Which was cool because they have like that halfway point, and then they launched to, I think it's to Mars or something.
No, it's further.
It's not halfway. It's like some.
Yeah, I want to say it's like one of the moons of. It's either one of Saturn's
Jupiter.
moons.
Yeah, you're right.
Jupiter's
because they were
moons
looking
or
for like
something.
his dad who went like missing, right? And some like okay.
Yeah, he kind of went. What ended up happening? He went rogue.
He went rogue, right, and just kept going.
Yeah, where he was just like, "Fuck it." Like it's about the mission.
Yeah. And then just it's a cool movie. I think it was anticlimactic, like the ending, but the movie itself is like that stuff is cool. Where you're like, oh shit, like it feels real. Like it feels like, oh, that's exactly how this is gonna play out. Like as far as like the space travel part, where you're like, oh, I can see us getting, maybe like towards the end of our lifetime, where that is a very common like, yep, there's a station there, and we park there, and then we go, like be like the Star Trek shit, where it used to be so like outlandish, where you're like, yeah, that would never. And now I'm like, no, that shit's probably possible. Like at this point in time, like living on a giant spaceship and it just floats in perpetuity or whatever in space. Like I'm like, nah, we'd probably do that.
Yeah,
like, I'm like, yeah.
And it's funny, man, just thinking about space in general and how big at least the observable universe is. Like, if like to think about how much we haven't explored. Like if the universe was the size of Earth, right, and we lived in a house. Right, and the house was essentially like the Earth. You haven't even explored your backyard.
This is insane.
And you essentially have this whole place to explore. So it's super exciting that they're going out there. Obviously, this is just a first step to more space exploration. So kudos to those guys. Kudos to NASA and everybody. I don't know if they did this with. Was this part of? I don't know if this is part of. SpaceX.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That I'm not. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, dude. You say you want to talk about making an impact. This is like an impact for like mankind and beyond Earth. Like there's a galactic impact on like what the future of space travel.
Yep.
Because I think inevitably the next move is like we're gonna inhabit another planet. That shit sounds bananas, but like. Yeah, I think we're gonna eventually inhabit other planets or moons or whatever.
Yep.
And this is sort of like you said, it's like the step in that direction. It's gonna be wild. It's funny, man. You just said something, and it reminded me. I used to do this bit. I still bring it up. It's about stupid sayings, like phrases that people use.
Yeah,
it's hilarious. One of the things we use on this pod, I think you said it was the thing about the birds in the bush or whatever. It's like
one
of the sayings that I brought up.
Yeah.
The two birds in a bush or some shit or whatever.
Oh, bird in hand is worth two in the bush.
Yeah. So I've used that saying like there's a joke. Yeah. So I turned that into a bit, but one of the other sayings in there that it's always been stupid to me is the whole like I love you to the moon and back.
Oh yeah.
And the premise of the joke is like, bitch, that's 6 days. Like this is a short-lived ass. Like 'cause to get to the moon, I think it's like 3 days or 3.5 days or whatever it is. Like if you were traveling on a rocket, whatever to the moon and back, it's short. So when people say that shit, I'm like, that's not a long time. So when you said this fucker's gonna orbit the whole moon and come back, and you said 25, I'm thinking you're gonna say 25 months.
No, man,
that shit said 25 days. I'm like,
bro.
It just proves my point.
Yeah,
that's the dumbest saying ever.
You know what? We have one of those "love you to the moon and back" little fucking signs at home.
Yeah, that's a one-night stand.
I'm gonna throw it away.
Give her that shit, bro.
I'm gonna burn it tomorrow.
I'll be like, according to the signage, this relationship is expired. It's like,
yeah, several years over.
Yeah, it's only supposed to go a week. Oh man.
What you got?
Shit, man. Dude, I got like sort of a carbon footprint of something that's I guess by the time you guys listen to this, it wouldn't have happened yet, but just something to keep an eye out. And I think it's the World Cup in Qatar. And the World Cup is obviously
that's coming up really soon, right?
Monday. Starts
oh,
Monday.
It's Monday. Okay,
Monday the 21st. I think is at least game one for USA. I think that's what I'm going by. Like,
okay.
So, but I think obviously the World Cup is always historic. You know, just in general, like it's a global game, whatever. But I think more than anything, I'm fascinated by Qatar having it. Or Qatar, or whatever you want to call it, like depending on who you are. I think some people call it Qatar, some people call it Qatar. I don't know, whatever. The thing with the Q. So it's like it's a fascinating place to hold this global game and have like the entire eyes of the entire world in this place that's like so different, I think, from the rest of where the rest of the world is trying to move right now.
Like culturally?
Yeah, like culturally. I think as far as acceptance of civil liberties and, you know, maybe women, you know, the alphabet, people, just everything, right? Like it's just not, it's an interesting part of the world. It's also part of the world that I think the part that I find fascinating is like there's obviously all these rumors these guys basically bribed their way into getting the World Cup, right? Because it's really silly that you would hold the World Cup in this country. But it's just, you know, one of the reasons we're having it in the winter, first time ever, is because it's too fucking hot to have a World Cup there. So it just didn't make sense, right? So there's all this stuff where it's like, okay, there's clearly something going on there. I'm not educated enough on it to know like whether or not that's true. It's probably like I tend to lean towards there's some money change hands, but
of course.
I think the part that fascinates me is like you're talking about this part of the world right now that's trying to prove its I don't want to say that it belongs, but it's certainly, I think, trying to westernize itself in the sense of it wants Western business, it wants Western I think what I call conveniences, but maybe they don't want they don't want to practice Western customs, or they don't want to be accepted like the Western world. And so like I you know, like right now, and one of the things is that I find really interesting is that like if you're a company, if you're an individual, if you're anybody in business, you sort of have to pay attention because all of the money in the world right now comes from here and it comes from Asia. And so you can't sort of neglect these guys, but they're also go against everything I think that the Western world sort of represents at the moment, right? Like the US, we're all about, you know, like you said, like progress for women and progress for the gay community and progress for, you know, I guess I'll just say LGBTQ, you know, like all of it. Anything. Everybody, just human rights in general, right? And now you're talking about countries that hold so much wealth. I don't think we truly know what these people are worth, but if I had to venture to guess, it's in the trillions, because if you look at every major project in the world right now, the funding either is from China or it's from the Middle East. And so I think keeping an eye on this World Cup right now is going to be really fascinating to see, like, okay, now you're projecting, you're showing the world what it is, because you're going to have journalists there talking shit, right? Like, what kind of rules? Oh, they're not, right? And what happens when you get a journalist that you know that talks a lot of shit, and then now they're having a studio in the middle of Qatar, and they're doing halftime shows, they're doing post game, or they're doing pre game, they're doing what? Like, how does that change? Does it? Like, and then are they punished for it? What happens to like tourists? Like, if you're visiting there to watch a World Cup's a global event, you know, it only happens every X amount of years. You could say, skip this one. But this one might be the one that's accessible to certain people that they go, fuck it, I'm going to risk it and go. What happens with the gay couple that goes there, the trans couple that goes there, the lesbian couple that goes there?
That's true, bro.
What happens to the women that go there, maybe on a girls trip? Oh, you probably avoid it. You wouldn't go on a girls trip. What happens to the guy going with his wife?
And I've heard women that have gone to, not necessarily there.
Like Dubai.
But like Dubai.
Or like Saudi Arabia. Yeah.
Where they go, yo, it's clear that I was a second-class citizen there.
Yes, very much so.
Not that they got treated bad, but, you know, like, essentially, like, an example would be a woman would be in line for something, and a guy would just cut right in front of her.
Yeah.
Just like, no, like, you stay back. Like, I'm going ahead of you.
Dude, I've seen women here who will, you know, like on a business trip, for example, that will come with guys, and they'll say they're eating, and they'll take off their hijab. I'm gonna get that wrong. I think it's hijab, right? Like, they'll take that off to eat or have lunch.
The covering?
The covering.
Okay.
And I've known a situation where they have the covering off, and then if you walk into a room, they're suddenly like scrambling, and they turn away from you so you don't see them, and they're putting it back on, and they're doing this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And because, you know, to them, you're not supposed to see them. You're not, you know, like, and I you know, culturally, whatever, I respect that, like what they do. But it's I've even seen men, like, if I open the door and I hold it and they go through, like, they almost give me dirty looks, like, you're holding it for the woman behind us. Like, it's really bizarre, man. So and I'm not here to say like right or wrong. I just think it's fascinating that like the entire eyes of the global like
it's a global
economy
stage.
And you know, just like culturally, like everything. We're all looking at this, so I'm just fascinated. I think just tune in. Like even if you don't like soccer, I'm like, there's gonna be some interesting shit that comes out of this. There's gonna be some arrests that are gonna be political, that are gonna be, you know, human rights things. There's gonna like, or not, right? Like, and so does it change the perspective of that? Like, because if they're investing, like, you know, you've seen the golf league, the secondary golf league competing with the PGA. You've seen them invest in like themed attractions. You've seen them invest in sports teams. You've seen them like, so they're like, no, look, we're cool too. We're westernized, and they have so much money, man, like so much money. Like they're almost the only people who can afford to do certain things right now. So it's like, do you turn away? Like I think this is the like balance between trying to be like a socially conscious companies. Like, you have to take those dollars, right? For some, do you do that knowing that they don't stand for the same things you stand? And what's that balance of like, you can't, you have to like sort of like get halfway off that high horse because you know that you have to do business with these countries that sort of go against the grain, especially here in America, in terms of what we find acceptable, right? So yeah, man, this time is like, if you don't have an interest in the World Cup's awesome sporting event. It's fantastic. It's on my bucket list of things to go to. But I think this adds another layer of just like, man, I want to know what happens. Like, what's the controversy? What's the thing that is this, you know, like, I hate to use this as an example, but this is, you know, like the Munich Olympics where something crazy happens in Munich. I don't know if you remember, like in the 70s with the whole like hostage situation. And all that stuff. Yes. Not that something like that's going to happen, but I mean, like, this has the potential to be like some crazy historical thing, either good or bad. Hey, this changed our perspective of this part of the world, and it launched them into like sort of like being accepted maybe in the Western world. Or does something wild happen here and we're like, why the fuck would you, which is what we're saying now, like, why would you host it here? Right. So either way, man, I'm glued. I'm like, I can't wait till this thing starts.
Dude, money over everything, bro.
Yeah. And I think that's a lesson learned here. Yeah.
When it comes to business, man, money over everything. Unfortunately, you know, they're not gonna cut ties with them unless something crazy happens, right? If something really sort of drastic occurs there, then you go, okay, that's the last time we're doing it over there.
Yeah.
But you got to give them a shot.
You have to do you think about, we're also very selective on what we choose to be outraged about, right? So
and then by time.
Yes.
Right? Like yesterday's rage is not today's.
No, and not at all, right? So like, these guys, again, because you sort of need them because they spend a lot of money, they do a lot of cool stuff, they're willing to invest in these projects that maybe wouldn't get off the ground. But like you said, it's like, at what cost? So, you know, like you've seen a lot of people get canceled recently for like certain comments. Dude, I would argue, you know, we use electronics every day. You use an iPhone, we use this stuff. That if you dug deep into that, you know, we have to get off sort of our little high horse there of our moral, you know, like,
none of us are moral. Or sorry, very few of us are
very moral. Few. We're selectively moral, right? You know, when it fits sort of our narrative or when it fits our lifestyle. But we're really quick to turn a blind eye when it benefits us, like really quick. And I think this is one of those situations where we are like, anything that has to do with the Middle East or anything to do with China, like I think as a society, as a government, as everything, we're like, yeah, but there's a lot of money over there, so we're gonna go ahead and look this way. Like, so and listen, I'm not here to say whether it's right or wrong or that I would pick one way or the other. I'm just saying, like, it's just fascinating to me, like, just to watch. So
how's the U.S. team? Are they any good?
This is the first time I think that there's like, I wouldn't say that there's hope that they're going to win it or a thing, but I think this is the first time when people feel like it's going to be competitive, like in a long time. Yeah. I think this is the first time that they're like, oh, they could make a run to make it interesting. Not necessarily they're going to win the tournament, but they're like, oh man, especially because you're seeing sort of I think this, you know, one of the big things about this, man, I'm glad you brought that up, is that this is the last Messi, Ronaldo.
Yeah.
This is the last of that era.
Even Ronaldo?
Yeah, Ronaldo's late 30s, man.
Messi's about to retire, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But then, Messi's about to retire from international play. Okay. And then I think he leaves, you know, Paris Saint-Germain or whatever. But if I had to take a guess, Messi's playing in MLS next year. But as Miami or something like that. Yeah, you go to Miami, LA, they give you ownership in an MLS team that's sort of up. I think Ronaldo ends up here at some point too. I wouldn't be surprised if it's next year because he's having beef with his team right now. So, but Ronaldo's late 30s, man. So,
is that right?
Dude, Ronaldo's like 36, 37.
Yeah.
He's just in shape. Wow. You know, soccer players, he's in great shape and he's big. And soccer players are generally really small dudes.
Yep.
Ronaldo's like 6'5" or something stupid. Like whatever he is, he's over 6 foot. He's like a big guy. He looks like an athlete. Where like most soccer players are really small guys. And so, but he's on the downside. So he ends up in MLS too, because we always get the like sort of stars on their way out. But this is both of their last sort of runs in that era. You know, they have an era with some really good like Bale. I don't know if this is his last one. This actually I don't even know, is he even in? I think he is. I think USA plays that team in the first. But there's there's this era that goes out with the Messi, Ronaldo. That's not just them. They're obviously the two biggest stars, but this is the last shot for a lot of these guys. And it reminds me of the NBA. You know, the NBA right now is like you're seeing the Curry's going to start fading out here soon. LeBron's fading out. You know, Durant's probably still at the top thing there, but it'll start fading out. And then you're seeing this new era of NBA guys, and it's making the league interesting because you're going, shit, I don't know where it's coming from.
I love it.
It's awesome. So yeah, I think this is that moment for like soccer. I think this is the last
the changing of the guard.
Yes, exactly. This is the last one where you're gonna see these guys, and either a new up and coming, you know, like country with a new superstar is gonna win this,
right,
or one of these legends is gonna end up finally getting their World Cup, because I don't think either one of them has one. So, you know, you never know. It'll be the whole thing about it, man. I'm so like glued. I can't wait. I can't wait for it to start.
Dope.
Yeah,
that's dope. Let me tell you who won't be welcome over there. Did you hear about this kid, Brian Gwen? I'm probably butchering that last name.
Okay.
She became Miss America's first transgender winner, but it's a pageant that is sponsored by Miss America. So small, you know how they do like the small ones, then it goes to the state, then it goes to like Miss America.
It's like a tournament. It's like like a March Madness for beauty pageants. Yeah. Okay.
So this one was in New Hampshire, the Greater Dairy.
You know what's hilarious? I was just gonna say, so this is Miss Pepperjack cheese or whatever. You said Greater Dairy.
Yeah, pretty much. So so I guess it is officially she is 19 years old. And I gotta show you a picture, bro, because this person is overweight, like it's not good looking, like it's just not what you would not the type of woman that you would typically win a pageant.
Okay.
Right. And so I'm looking at this and I'm going, I kind of feel bad for like the other contestants, although they all took a picture together and they all seem really happy. Then I seen the other contestants, and yeah, she should have won.
Oh, really? They all look like Miss Dairy for real.
Let me see if I can pull up a picture.
You got to pull it up, man. So not even good looking? Because some of them you go, oh shit, you would have tricked me. Like I've seen some now where I'm like,
you mean the transgender?
Yes.
So that's what, you know what, and that's what I'm saying. So like
I wouldn't be mad if they were good looking. You're like, well, fucking hey, do your thing.
Then do your thing.
Yeah.
No, this one is not, bro. This is it's like an overweight dude.
Oh man. Bro, and then what's the rule? Do you have to be a quote unquote biological woman to enter these?
No, you don't, man.
Can you be a man and enter these? Because it is Miss.
It is Miss, but she's this is transgender.
Like you can't be married in these either, right?
Brian.
It's Brian.
I don't know if they changed it. I don't know if
they changed the name to Brienne or something.
Or not. Oh, ooh, I didn't think about that. Brienne.
Is there an E at the end?
No.
No? Shit.
But the judgment is supposed to be on their achievements in scholastic, aptitude, talent, character, community service, and poise.
Okay.
So I guess you don't have to be a good-looking woman.
I mean,
to win this.
I mean, it is a beauty pageant, right? I guess beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So they say. Can we just acknowledge though, like, there's a time to be shallow, right? Like for a beauty pageant, I think that's appropriate.
Okay, look at this though.
Let me see Brian. Oh, what the fuck? Oh, but let me see. Look at the other. Right, hold on. I gotta see the rest. I gotta see the rest. Nah,
there's not really that much competition there.
No, there's not.
But he is clearly the most unattractive person there.
Yeah, by a long shot. Because I would say, I mean, the one next to him doesn't look like she's old enough to be in this, but the one on the far right, and I would say on the far left, should have got it over him. Actually, everybody, other than you're right, everybody. It ain't a good group though. Like, there isn't anybody in there that if you saw them in the mall, you'd be like, oh, you must be running in pageants,
right?
Like,
but so winning this allows her to go to the state
to run for Miss New Hampshire or whatever.
Miss New Hampshire, yeah, that's
wild. We got to see
that.
And
then if she wins that, then she goes to Miss America.
Yo, she's ugly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, not an attractive.
Not at all, bro. And like, I don't even know what word to use right now, man.
And it just got me thinking, man. Like, dude, like, you know. You want to be if you were born a male and you want to be female, like, do you, boo boo?
Yeah, like,
I don't really care.
I think, like, I don't care what you want us to call you, right? Like, if you say identify as a thing, I'm like, cool, fine, I'll, you know, whatever, I'll call you her or she. Like, I really don't care. But
I don't care either.
I don't have to think you're good looking. I still think that's a matter of opinion.
I don't let you win pageants.
But she built like a go-gurt. She
she looked like a linebacker, bro.
Yeah, bro. That's you're being generous.
Like
I would get it. Like, that's pretty wild, man. I'd be pissed if I was another girl in the beauty pageant. Like, listen, again, there's been some
they look happy, but I'm sure there's a few of them that are really pissed off. Unless this dude is just like uber nice.
Yeah, the nicest person in the world.
They're
so happy for him. Yeah.
I gotta stop doing that, man. Like, his name is Brian though.
So he hasn't changed it. I think that's part of the story. I think I just saw a thing there that says, like, he's still calling himself Brian.
Yeah, being named Miss Greater Derry 2023, Brian Gwen became the first transgender person to win the title under the Miss America organization.
Is it the first Asian also?
I don't know. Wouldn't that be fucked up?
That'd be hilarious. First Asian man. Also, what is the definition of a transgender? Like, if I just say I'm transgender, is that, like, I guess we're gonna have to come up with some kind of definition.
I don't know, man.
Because if I just go, hey, I'm a woman now, like, I identify as a woman, does that make me transgender?
Right. I don't know.
Because
I don't think so, right?
Because this is where it gets shaky, bro.
Isn't transgender when you are actually, like, changing your sex parts?
I don't know. I'm ignorant. That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure. Bro. Because, like, dude, this would be a really good way to get into the Guinness Book of World Records. As I just start trying to do shit and then just say, no, but I'm a transgender. I want to be the first transgender, you know.
No. Like, you know what? Remember the swimmer?
Yeah.
Remember, he was taking, like, hormone shots.
Yeah.
And so in order to compete in the women's sports, he had to be taking the hormone shots for a certain amount of time. Let's say like a year.
Okay.
And then he was able to compete.
But do you have that in beauty pageants? Like, if I wanted to enter a beauty pageant and be like, oh, I want to be the first person in a beauty pageant to bench 250. like, does that? I want to be the first transgender in a beauty pageant to do a dance routine.
Bro, I'm waiting for like the first transgender WNBA player.
Oh, that's gonna be great. I'm gonna tune in.
At some point, it's inevitable. It's gonna happen.
It's inevitable, bro. It's inevitable.
And then I want to see, like, because then you go, if you're a woman, or I mean, I think I would feel this way. If I was a woman, then I would be going, okay, now you're taking our spot.
Yeah,
like you're a dude.
Yeah, you've been fighting this whole time for equality,
right? And
now you got a dude who's like basically like who has a biological advantage over you and gets it. And like, again, and then they have to be on hormone therapy for a certain amount of years. But
I don't think it matters, bro.
They're still right. There's still a physiological advantage that you're never getting rid of. That's there. Like, I don't know, man. Yeah, that's gonna be.
And I think eventually somebody comes along and goes like, okay, they just need a league of their own.
Yeah, and then it becomes but I'm not a woman anymore. Now I'm just a transgender.
Right.
And you know what I mean? Like, there's like, it just gets like super, I don't know. It's going to be fascinating to see, man. What a time.
Maybe by then another meteor will hit
What a time.
And reset everything.
And just reset it all. Bro, is it gay if you suck a lady dick? I go.
Was she born a lady?
I guess is that the determining factor?
Did he have it added, or was it natural?
No, you would think it has to be natural, right? Because that means you were born a man and you transgendered into a woman. And you've seen some of them now.
Don't they get it cut off?
Do good. Some of them keep the dick.
I don't know, man. I'm fucked up. Bro.
And then some of them are super pretty, bro. That'd be like my worst nightmare. Imagine you meet someone and they're like super pretty and you're into them, and then you find out like they used to have an Adam's apple and they still have the dick. They've
been hiding it for 6 months.
You wait until marriage. I think that, bro, this shit's getting so tricky now. I feel like that should be a prerequisite, like the dating apps. Like, I'm gonna need to inspect the genitals. Like, let me see them first. Are these original parts? Are they OEM? Are these aftermarket components? I need to know.
Be like, damn, I really liked her.
I like
him.
Yo, the alphabet soup people coming for us, bro. This is good.
Yeah, I know, man. Oh, good thing we only got like 10 listeners.
Listen, live your life, man. I'm for anybody doing their thing, man. But yeah, it does call into question like a lot of. It's gonna be a lot of fascinating scenarios. I think is what it's gonna be, man.
Yeah, and I just think that at some point it's gonna get to a place that where the majority will start to go, okay, like you can't do that.
Yeah, this is clearly one of those, like, you know how people let someone win because they feel sorry for them or whatever? Like, this is one of those scenarios. Not feel sorry, but it's like it's charity, right? Like, let them win because, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Why is there not a man beauty competition? I mean, there has to be, right? Is there not a man?
Yeah, but he's not a man.
Fuck.
So I'm saying, so you'd have to do almost like their own. And that's what I'm saying. So like, and that's why I use WNBA.
Miss T, the Miss T pageant, Miss T, New Hampshire.
But that's why I brought up the WNBA.
Yeah.
Because if you start to get guys that are transgender, listen, guys play above the rim from the high school on.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
Right. So like, you get an adult male that's been playing basketball and then decides to become, transgender. Yeah, every WNBA team is gonna want this person.
Yeah,
and then it just becomes unfair.
I can't wait.
It's gonna happen, bro.
Oh no, it's inevitable.
But I'm saying, so like when something like that happens, then the sort of the masses of women going like, okay, like this is where we draw the line. We've been fighting for this shit forever. Yeah. We have a league. They have really talented players. But they're not. But they can't compete with men.
No, they can't. Dude, honestly,
sorry, they can't. They can compete with me and you.
Right.
They can compete with professional, athletes that have been playing basketball for as long or longer than they have.
I'm sorry, bro. Depending on the sport, I'm gonna say they can't compete with you and I. That's a whole nother episode. No,
curling.
Dude, honestly, play devil's advocate. Let's put it on the other side. Like, what if a female got into gymnastics on the men's side, and it wasn't like the rings where it requires like the upper body strength to hold yourself up, like you go balance beam or like something that's more like flexibility, agility.
Do the guys do balance beam?
I don't think so,
man. That's a nutcracker.
Is there one? Yeah, that is a nutcracker. But there's some, like I know they do rings. I know they do uneven bars for men. They have to do something.
No, they
floor
do
routine.
Oh no, they do this shit where they with their hands.
Oh, that's right. And they do the thing. Yeah.
Is that on the horse?
Yeah, it's on the horse.
It's on the horse.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's called. But they don't do the fucking splits.
No. But there's definitely like there's an advantage to being a woman to being in some of those gymnastics events because of the flexibility and all that stuff that men just don't have. Like, so I wonder, and honestly, the size advantage, right? If you're small, it's easier to get around some of these things, like that stuff. And listen, some of those gymnasts, like, their physique is insane. So, like, I wonder if when do you have it going the other way? Like, what will we have? Because inevitably, there's going to be something that a woman has an advantage of over men, and that's when it'll piss us off and we'll change the rules. Because it'll be like, nah, fuck that. Yeah. She had an advantage.
Nah, that's funny.
It's going to be...
Bro, let me hit you up on this shit, man. I read this article, and it was talked about the most regretted college majors.
This is gonna be great.
Let me pull this up.
This is gonna be so good.
Drum roll, please. Dun dun dun. Most regretted college majors.
Let me guess.
You got any guess for number one?
Anything artsy.
Journalism.
Does that count?
Bro, 87% regret getting
journalism,
a degree in journalism.
Does it say why? Because I have a theory, but I don't. That may take us down a different rabbit hole.
I have a chart.
Okay.
So I don't know why. Why do you think?
I think because if you get into journalism, you want to like give the news. You want to do
you want to be
facts.
You want to have one
informative,
right?
And the news isn't that anymore. Unless you do your own blog, your own Twitter, your own YouTube channel, your own like the news right now. Journalism is very one-sided and skewed to like push an agenda, and so it's okay. Affirmation. So I wonder if you have good intentions. You know, it's kind of like being a politician. You have good intentions, and then when you get in, you realize, oh, it's a machine. I'm not going to get a chance to do what I thought, which was like shed light on stories, whatever.
That's good. That's good. Now I was thinking that, you know, people want to get into it because they want to be the reporter. They want to be reporting the news. They want to be on TV, and those jobs are finite.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, right?
There's only people on TV, right? Like maybe you're the person writing maybe journalism is more the jobs is maybe writing articles for magazines or newspapers that then go to editors and really like the editor will rip your piece apart and then only put what they want out there.
That's true, because we don't even read magazines the way we used to. You remember, like, there's so many magazines that were super popular. Like, we all used to subscribe to something. And then, you know, whether it was a Vogue or an FHM or a video game or a movie or whatever, like, people subscribe to some type of magazine, right? Like, and I don't know that's a thing anymore. I know they're digital now. They're websites now and they're blogs and they're whatever. But, like, yeah, that's a good point, man. Like, where do you showcase some of that stuff? Or is it better to you're essentially like your own employee, and then the opportunities in that are very limited because now you have to like be your own marketer. You have to be you have to be everything then for yourself. So yeah, shit, that's an interesting one. Okay,
yeah,
that's number one. That's number one. Wow.
Sociology, number 2.
I could see that.
Number 3, liberal arts or general studies. And I at that point I was like, I have a degree in that.
Do you really? That's one of mine. Yeah. I have a degree in liberal arts, general studies, but I got it.
Is that is that your AA?
My AA is.
Oh, that's your AA. Yeah.
But I got it at the time because I knew it was useless, but it was the easy one to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Communications.
Isn't that the one that all the athletes get?
Oh, I don't know.
I think every athlete is like communications or journalism. every athlete on at a school in college, you ask them what their major is, it's always communications.
Dude, followed by, and I was actually surprised about this one.
Okay.
Education. People regret getting degrees
in education. I could see that now. But I can see that now.
Do you think it's because of the low pay?
Yeah, I think it's low pay. I think it's no upside, right? Like if you're in education, your ceiling is determined for you very, very early on. Like you go into it knowing, hey, I'm capped at X.
Right.
And no matter how hard I work, no matter what degrees I get, no matter how skilled I become, in education, my ceiling has been predetermined. And I have the same ceiling that somebody who's shitty at their job has. So like in no other profession, like you and I have like a finite, like an infinite potential, right? Of income, of positions, of everything, right? Like in our fields, because there isn't like a cap, there isn't a ceiling. There's,
I mean, I wouldn't say infinite, but
like right, you know what I mean? Like it's like you.
It is not. You don't go into it going like, hey, you can only make up to 100K.
Correct, and then even if, like you said, it's not. It is finite, but the range is like you could make 40K or you could make 100 million, depending on what level of that thing you hit, right? And where you end up. In education, you're never gonna have that, right? You're never gonna have the opportunity for like, unless you start an education company based on like software or any of that stuff. Like your ceiling is capped.
But then in that space, you're an entrepreneur. you're
Correct.
not really educated anymore.
Now you're in business and you're whatever, which is
Yep.
I wasn't expecting to see my bachelor's one there because I have a business degree. I think that's just the default that everyone gets.
Yeah, and that is not on the list.
No, I wouldn't expect it to be because it's like the most like well-rounded of the like it works for anything.
Yep.
Like how I looked at it, it's like I just like it's a throwaway one because it just fits like anything.
Yep.
Like yeah.
So followed by the bottom 5 are marketing management and research, medical clinical assisting,
Okay.
political science and government, biology, and then last to round out the top 10, English language and literature.
Wow, that's interesting. Biology is normally what doctors get, right? Like they get
Is it
biology
really?
degrees. I thought you normally go like the biology route, and then you go into.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
It's funny. I started off as a political science major. That was my first major in college.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How was that?
I actually found it really interesting, and I wanted to go to law school. This is why
Yep.
I did it, and I did have like aspirations to get into politics. I liked the classes. I think it was I changed my mind, not necessarily on political science. I changed my mind on wanting to do law. And that drove my decision to change that. Yeah, like it wasn't the political science part that I was turned off, even though politics did eventually sort of turn me off. What turned me off first was the law degree. Like I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to do this. And I think it was just meeting like either people in law school or people who had graduated from law school, and they were all like just stressed out and they hated their lives at the time, and they were just like. And I remember the payoff not being great for some of them because I think people think a lawyer and it's like, oh, you must make all this crazy money and yada yada. And what they don't tell you is like, no, lawyers eat shit like everybody else does. And having your own practice is hella stressful, and some of them do really well with their own practice, but it is stressful. And then if you go working for somebody else, then you don't really make good money until you're like a partner. And listen, good money is subjective.
Right.
It wasn't good money to me given the level of stress that you'd have to go through. It was like, oh, I could do that with a business degree. Why the hell would I subject myself to that like kind of thing? And they all just look sad, like depressed. Like when I tell you every lawyer I met at the time or person who was in law school, they like hated their life. I was like, yeah, I'm not, I haven't met one happy one of you guys. Yeah. Like I was like, none of you guys seem like happy with your decision. Like it was just, it just turned me off from it, man. I was like, And the people that I did meet that were like happy or at least appeared to be were really old and were like partners at practices and were like all that kind of stuff. And I was
so
like,
they had achieved that level of success.
Yeah. And I went, I'm not willing to eat the type of shit that it looks like that you're eating for 20 years. Like, just not with the trade-off being what it was. It was like, 6 years of school, whatever, like 4 more, whatever after your bachelor's. And then it was like all the testing, all that stuff. It's hard to get barred, all that stuff. I was like, it doesn't seem worth it to me at that time. So I was like,
Yep. So that's it, man. That's the top 10.
That's funny, man. So that's it. The marketing one makes sense too, but it's interesting because I would think that marketing now in this, I wonder if that's driven by this age of everybody's a marketer now, right? Like any kid with a phone is a marketer now. And is that driven by opportunity? Is that driven, like, is that low ranking driven by the lack of opportunity, I guess would be a better way to word it, or
I don't deal
earnings
with that
potential. Like what was the criteria that drove this? Was there anything in there? Was it like earnings potential versus like job opportunity potential versus like?
It just basically said percentage of graduates who would pick a different major if they could.
Huh. Okay. It's funny, man. It's sort of sticking with like professions. I guess what people would. I guess one that's always sort of controversial is like serving tables and like tipped positions.
Yep.
I ate at a restaurant recently in New York, in Brooklyn, and the restaurant, it's funny, man. It was an Italian restaurant, and I remember opening the menu, and my sister and I immediately went, wow, this is a little more expensive than like your average. And it wasn't, I guess we didn't expect that from the type of place it was. Like it was a nice place, but it was like, we just weren't expecting a price point. And then we noticed that at the top of the menu, it said, hey, our prices include gratuity because we pay our servers a reasonable wage, like something like that. Like it includes reasonable wage for our servers, no need to tip, something like that. Like there's no tipping because we pay our servers like whatever it was, right? And of course, initially I read it and I'm like, yeah, but they're still going to give you the receipt with thing, and you're going to feel obligated, and right? So anyway, man, had the meal, fantastic service. They gave us the receipt. It didn't have the tip line. It was
shit.
It was just I gave them my card. They gave me the line to sign. That's it. They didn't like thing, and it was like adamant. Like no, it's included. Like these guys make enough money to live, and it like and I know that's something that's always like in the conversation about like the tipping and the servers and like do you just raise the wages for these employees? And I went from that experience, man. I found myself going. I didn't give a shit about paying $25 versus $20 for this gnocchi because it was first off it was good, the service is good, and I knew that they were paying. I think knowing that they paid their employees that much, I was like, oh, okay, I'm good, I'm sold. Like, what started off as a like
that's
shit.
Interesting, man. So this is in New York.
Yeah, this is in New York, and I like what started off as I'm like, oh shit, it's a little pricier, and then when it said the gratuity, I'm like, oh okay, that seems reasonable. Like it's a 25% difference versus everything else, and then I was just kind of like, by the end of it, I was like, fuck, I'd sign up for that anywhere. I think the pressure of the not having to think of the tip or not, like I'm a over tipper. Like I think just because I hate the like stigma, and especially if I know I'm going back, like I think I'm just I don't know if it's insecurity or whatever, but I just the idea of having to go back to a place and not being like and I don't like messing with people to handle my food.
Yeah,
so it's just one of those things.
Typically for me, man, if I have even decent service, I'm doing 20%.
Yeah, that's my floor, bro. Yeah, 20 is my floor. Like, yeah, like I'm like I never go under that. Like I know people that will go under that. Like, no, they were horrible. I'm giving them 10, and I'm like 20 is my floor, and then I go up from there if it was like great. But I found myself going. I know these guys are paying these guys well, and so I didn't care about spending more on the meal because it's like, oh, I probably would have given them more anyway.
Right.
But then just removing the, man, that was phenomenal service. Like do I give them 25, 30? From the equation, I go, man, I was, and when I tell you the service was great, it was awesome. We were sitting outside. It wasn't exactly convenient. The people, like, it was great service, and the food was awesome. And I went, man, I wish everybody just did this. Like, I would not mind. Now, I think it would. I guess it would change a little if your server started to get trashy and
right. So you got to pay your servers enough to bring in the kind of talent, right? That would give the kind of service.
Yeah, the people who want to stay there and work because they know they're going to either have a steady flow of customers and you're paying them whatever. Yeah, because I don't know what do you pay a server an hour at a place like that to go, oh, they make enough to where you don't have to. Because, server gets one good table, and even if it takes 2 hours, but they, if you get $1,000 bill and you had to serve them for 2 hours, maybe 3, that's a pretty good hourly rate.
Dude, I wonder if they pay them based on their tables,
like dish or maybe like average check and then per table. So you go, hey, our average table is $200.
Right.
We're gonna give you $30 a table or $20
or whatever
a table.
It is. Yeah,
whatever it is. Yeah, you come up with a number like, huh?
Where you go, I'm gonna pay you. I don't know. I'm gonna pay you between 20 and 25%.
Yeah, because what do you do during slow time
of every table you serve?
So during slow time. No, because I guess during slow time they're guaranteed their hourly rate anyway. Yeah, man, that's interesting, man.
I don't know, man. Like I said, I would wonder, is it? And New York is funny, man. There's a lot of different like laws and shit with employment. So I don't know. Like I mean, it is hourly. So yeah, I'd be really interested to see how they did that.
Fucking, and we're not big enough yet, so I'm just gonna. If you're in Brooklyn, if you're in New York, go eat at Flora. It's called Flora. It was phenomenal. Brooklyn? Yeah, it's in Park Slope in Brooklyn. It was awesome. Like the food was fantastic. And like I said, it was like gratuity included. And I just like, I could get used to this concept. I like this. Like, because you go to other countries and they're thrown off by us tipping all the time. And it's funny, man, I find myself still tipping in those scenarios, and I've been in scenarios where people have given me money back. And I'm like, no, it's for you. And they're almost offended. They're like, no, really? Like like now you go to like, there's so many places now, bro, where you buy like a cup of coffee and they turn the fucking screen thing and it's like at a tip, and you're just like, I feel obligated to.
I'd be like, nope.
See, I feel obligated, and I'm also like, why? Because you press the button thing. Like I'm like, I don't know. Like it used to be like, I'll do it. Like when it was like far and few in between, but now I'm like, everybody's doing it, and then I see the jars where it's like tip us. I'm like, but you're a fucking cashier. Like, why am I tipping you? Like, I think it's just, I don't know. It's just. That whole like the tipping culture thing has gotten like really out of hand right now. Yeah, because every like you have to tip fucking everybody.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say everything is not a tippable job, in my opinion.
No,
You know,
like
back in the day, right? It was be like the servers would make $3 an hour or $2.85 an hour, and those are the people. That's why you tip them, because they don't make any friggin' money. But no, for like you go to a place that's paying, even if it's minimum wage, they're still getting their full salary that they agreed to. And yeah, like if you're making pizzas in the back of a Papa John's, like I'm not tipping.
Dude, and I went, it's funny, I just thought about this when we were talking, like I went to like a different barber recently because I didn't like, mine is pretty far, and so I try to go to him like once a month, but I wanted like a touch up in between. And I went to a barber, and I used a card, and normally I always bring cash for like barbers, but I didn't have, so I did a card. But when he had me sign the thing, it didn't have the tip thing. It was just like, nope, this is the price, and it is what it is. And he was slightly higher than normal, but still cheaper than what I would have paid had I tipped him with the normal price of blah blah. And I went, fuck, I'd rather do that. Like, I'm like, I just tell me what you want. Like, just don't.
Right. I gotta just name your price, and then I'll decide whether I want to pay it or not.
Because I just thought about this too. I've had coffee recently somewhere here in Orlando, and it's a local place, and their motto is that you tell them what you want to pay for the cup of coffee.
Really?
Yes, bro. You can give them $1. You can give them 50 cents. They suggest $6, right? Like for, I think I bought like an iced latte or whatever it was. Like, and their suggestion is like $6, but I didn't have to give them that. Like it was, their concept.
No, I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
I'm like, yo, tell me what you think you're worth. Like, and I'll give you that. Or I can decide whether
sometimes, man, sometimes you'll get, and we'll use coffee as the example. If you go to a place and the coffee is phenomenal, right? And it's, I don't know, it's $5. You go, yo, I'm willing to pay the $5 because the coffee is amazing. But that same amazing cup of coffee, if you give me that option of what I want to pay for it, fuck, I'm probably gonna overpay, which is the model that they want, right? They want you to overpay.
Right, exactly. So I'm like, I'm always uncomfortable in those scenarios. I'm even uncomfortable when like I've had people do services like at my house, and they'll be like, I don't know, man, like what do you think? And I'm like, no, man, like you're the one doing, tell me what you think you're worth, and I can decide whether or not I think you're worth that.
Right.
But I'm like, you tell me what I don't, because I don't want to insult you, or I certainly don't want to overpay you.
Right.
So I'm like, just tell me what you think you're worth, and then I can make the educated decision whether or not I'm like, okay, I feel comfortable with that or whatever. Like, it's weird, but I found myself. It's funny, man. We were having the meal, and I remember I grabbed my phone and I took the note for the pod.
Oh yeah.
And I told my sister, I'm like, I gotta talk about this on the pod, because it's just like, I'm like, it changed my perspective on like I wish everybody just did this. Like I didn't realize how much it bothered me, the tipping thing, and I'm gonna just build it into the price. If I don't know about it, it's less stress. Like,
Dude, how we doing on time?
Dude, we're almost at an hour.
Really?
Yeah, we're like 58 minutes.
All right, man. I want to just get into sports this week.
Yeah, let's do it,
dude. Tom Brady, the GOAT, passes 100,000 yards passing, which is crazy.
That's
so that is the most, bro. It's over 56 miles,
dude. Holy shit! That's also, you think about the whole 5,000 yards in a season was like an impossible feat.
Oh yeah,
like somebody did.
But that's happening a lot now.
But that means he's averaging that for 20 years.
Oh yeah.
Like when you said 100,000, right?
Yeah,
that's insane, dude. Because I think Drew Brees is the only person to throw for 5 in a season, right? Or was. Jameis Winston did it again, and then like.
Yeah. But I think Drew Brees,
Dan Marino might have done it, right? I think it's Drew Brees, Dan Marino. I think Jameis Winston is in there for like almost 5,000. Like that's a hard number.
Drew Brees is the closest behind them with 85,000.
That's insane. That means he averaged, and he never. And I don't think he's ever hit 5,000 in a season, but I think he's played for like 22 or 23, and so it helps.
45 now.
Yeah, so he's played for 22, 23 seasons now, maybe
something like that.
So it helps his average out, because I don't think he's ever thrown for 5. Maybe the Randy Moss year, maybe, but no, I don't think he's thrown for 5. I don't know, but you're averaging almost.
But that's even
shit.
more. That's even more impressive.
Yeah. The minute you said 100,000, I'm like, what the fuck? Like that's crazy. I didn't know he hit that.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah,
so did he hit that this past weekend in Germany?
Weekend.
Okay, cool.
So a few things happened, man. So that one was one of them. What was the other one here? Derrick Henry from the Titans, your boy.
Let's go.
He passed Eddie George in yards.
Another legend, Titan.
Yep. Justin Fields from my Bears.
Your boy.
He broke Michael Vick's regular season record. He rushed for 178 yards in the game.
Oh, is that really? That's so. No one's hit 200 as a quarterback.
As a quarterback, no.
Oh shit! I thought Vic did.
So, the all-time record actually belongs to Colin Kaepernick.
Oh.
In the playoff game against Green Bay, he ran for 181 yards. So he was 3 yards shy.
I remember that game when he lit them the fuck up. Oh, wow. That's the Super Bowl year.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't think, damn, Colin.
Yeah, so Fields was only 3 yards shy of holding the all-time record, period. So he holds the regular season record. Colin Kaepernick holds all-time and playoff.
Dude, your boys have been fun to watch, losing and all, man. There's been something about them, man.
Yeah,
I can't.
I'll say the same thing, bro. The last few weeks, even though they've lost, man, it's like they have been, man. They've been fun to watch. They haven't learned how to finish and win yet.
And you figure that'll come in a season or two, like
hopefully
maturity.
But they are dropping dudes like crazy, man. They just dropping another defensive guy now, like the third guy. No, like just cut it.
Oh, they're trading.
They traded 2 guys, cut another guy. So the new coach, the new GM, they definitely have a plan in place. I have no idea what it is.
It's interesting because they're moving away from those defensive guys. Remember we were talking here about how the Bears are just known to be like a defensive, like
defensive and running,
yeah. and the new regime appears to be cutting these defensive guys and going. Which, man, honestly, you put up 30 to 40 in an NFL game, you should win.
And they haven't been.
And they haven't been winning. And they've been putting up.
The last 2 weeks they put in 30 plus.
They have to be averaging over the last 3 weeks like the most, or at least up there in the top 3 or 4 of most points in the NFL.
Yeah,
and they're losing their games.
Justin Fields, like in the last 5 games, and I'm making this number wrong, but he's somewhere between 500 to 600 yards rushing as a quarterback.
Wow,
which
man.
Is fucking
which I
crazy.
think that's him just finally letting loose and going, maybe not worrying, not overthinking about I have to be a passer.
Right.
And then because I think for him I've seen him throw where I'm like, oh, you're talented enough arm wise. I think once people start respecting the throw, then the run, those throwing lanes start to open up a little bit and help
because you
capitalize.
Make the linebackers stay in to spy. Right? So there's one less guy in coverage.
One less guy in coverage. Yeah, man. I don't know, was it you was telling that in those first 3 weeks, even when they were scoring 10, I'm like, I can't put my finger on it, but there's something about them that's interesting to watch right now, even when they're not scoring. I was like, I don't, and I obviously certainly didn't see this coming, but I'm like, I can't turn away. Even when they were scoring 10, I'm like, there's something interesting about them that I couldn't figure out. And now I'm like, oh shit, man, now they're scoring, and you're like, fuck, they're a fun watch, man, because every time they get the ball, you're like, the Bears, it used to be like, here's the punt in 5-6 plays, and now you're like
3 and out,
and then you're like, holy shit, like these guys they're gonna score, but they're also gonna, so they get into shootouts is what's happening, man. And they're fun. They're a fun watch, man.
Dude, did you see the Vikings game? The Vikings and Bills.
Oh my god,
there was a few games this weekend that were just insane.
I was watching the Titans nuts. And I found myself going like watching that Vikings, like especially at the end. I started really tuning in at the end. And then when the Vikings had that 4th and goal to go, I was just like...
Well, how about the 4th and 18? When he throws that shit and the dude goes up and grabs it with one hand?
One hand. It was like, it gave me Eli Manning Super Bowl like vibes like that. I know they kept showing the OBJ catch, but I'm like...
No, but this one
immediately thought of the Eli with David Tyree play. Yep. Like, I was like, wow, man, what a series. The overtime was amazing. Like, everything... What a game. The NFL this year has been I think it's also so open.
Yep.
Like, you just don't know where it's... Like, obviously, Kansas City's good. Buffalo's good. But there's something about it that feels so open. Right.
That's the thing,
They've all shown weakness.
Everybody's showing weakness.
Exactly. And so it's just been like a fun watch right now. And I'm going... And the teams that were kind of shitty, because I go, here comes Tampa. Like, here comes, like these teams... I always say after week 6 is when you start to find out what teams are made of. And so now you're going like, okay, here, like Buffalo can be beat. Minnesota, you go, yeah, they beat this team, but they showed some weaknesses too. Like, Minnesota doesn't convince me all the way yet. Philly, I'm like, okay, undefeated, but you just lost to the Commanders. Like, there's something there.
Did they lose that game? I was watching that. They lost it, right?
They lost.
Okay.
So you're like...
Dude, I like the dude from Washington, man. The Heineke kid.
Yeah, dude, he's a fun watch.
Yeah,
Again, talking
he's
about
fun,
fun watches,
man.
he's fun, man. He's got like a swagger to him where I'm like, I like watching him.
Yep.
Like I'm like, I know that he's limited, but I like watching him. I'm like, he's fun. There's a swagger there where I'm like, it's what the NFL is. It's great television. Like it's great television. I'm like, I like watching him. Like, and it's supposed to be great television. Man, that kid.
So they're selling that team.
Yeah, dude. When was the last NFL team that sold? I can't remember any. Maybe Jacksonville. I do remember like a few years back, but.
Fuck, I don't remember, man.
And then
that's what I remember was Washington. I remember when Dan Snyder bought them.
And that was like a decade ago, right? Maybe,
probably more.
Maybe more. Yeah.
More.
So because you don't sell NFL teams every day, man.
But this whole thing with him and the culture and all of the shit that they've been under scrutiny for, so they're looking at selling them, and then Jeff Bezos and Jay-Z are two like potential buyers. This week, I think that Matthew McConaughey
really
just kind of joined.
All right. Okay.
Just kind of joined in. Kevin Durant has expressed interest in kind of joining that as well.
And Durant's from DC, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
None of the rest of those guys have ties to DC, but
I was surprised with McConaughey, but
me too.
I know he's a big sports guy. So.
Oh yeah. He's big Longhorn, so as a Longhorns fan, you see him all the time, and he's awesome. Like at Longhorns game, even when they suck, he's so positive to them. Like he gives speeches to the team all the time. Man, how interesting with that. And I think it's funny, man. I think this is the future of sports ownership is going to be these tech and you know, like the hip hop community and acting and all, like, you know, before it was like these guys that you had no idea how they got rich.
They are,
you know, like he's an oil like person or or shipping, and you're like shipping, and you're just like you're like Steinbrenner's like, oh, he was shipping, and you're like, or build ships or something like that, like George Steinbrenner, I think is like building ships or something. It was something where you're like, yeah, that's not a thing anymore, you know. It's like stuff like that where you're just like, yeah, man, you're a gajillionaire from that. But I feel like this is going to be cool because if this happens, and the NFL has their stupid rules, and the owners have to vote on letting people in, so it is like a good old boys club. And
absolutely.
You have to so I do hope that even like 2 or 3 of these guys get in, because I think it changes the face of sports and the ownership. And, you know, like Gary Vee is one of these guys who wants to own a team one day. But you're like, they would never let one of these guys in. Like, even if Jay and Bezos had that cash, like, or Elon Musk, you think about these owners having a vote to, because Mark Cuban is still considered like.
I was gonna just say him, man. Like, he was the first guy that was just like, oh shit, look, a cool owner,
dude. He's a Maverick, which is like ironic, right? Because his team is the Dallas Mavericks, but he was a Maverick in the sense of like, no, just shut the fuck up and sit in your box. And Mark Cuban was the first owner that was like, no, I'm sitting courtside and I'm talking shit and I'm cheering and I'm high fiving players and I'm yelling at refs and I'm like, love it. And I'm like, I think as a sports fan, I think seeing an owner like that gives you this feeling that like, oh, you're not like doing
he gives
this.
a shit.
You give a shit, like, and that's what we want, right?
Yeah.
Like we're not making money because our team wins. We just want the satisfaction of our team winning. Like we want the emotion behind it.
Yep.
And I think you want an owner, which is why, like, you know, as a Yankee fan, I remember people would knock them like, oh, they're buying titles. I go, yeah, but every sports fan wants your guy to put winning above all else, and George Steinbrenner put winning above all else because he wasn't even the richest owner in baseball. He was like top 10, maybe. I think he was ranked 10 or 11.
Right.
And I remember people at the time like, oh, they just have more money than everybody. I'm like, that's not even close. He just gives a fuck. Like, he just wants to win at all costs. And I'm like, don't you want your owner to win at all costs or want to?
Right.
Because
at least want to, right?
Yeah, dude, because listen, we live in Orlando. It's fucking rough watching the Orlando Magic because you're like, do you guys care about winning? Because they never, like...
Dude, they're actually, the team this year...
It's great.
If you get a chance, man, they're interesting to watch.
They're awesome. But here's the thing. 3 years from now, all those guys are leaving because someone else is going to pay them. And that's the thing about the Magic is I go, we're going to develop these players. But when it comes time to pay Bonchero, when it comes time to pay these guys, they're going to go, nah, fuck that. I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to go to Miami. I'm going to go like, we don't, it's like they don't invest in winning above all else. I never felt that way other than that team where they had with like Dwight Richard, like for a very small window.
Yep.
And then they lost that team because I think they almost overspent on things that they didn't need to. But I don't know, man.
That was when the hockey guy was there, right?
Yeah. And so they it was just bizarre. Like, I love when you get sports teams about guys who are just passionate and it's not about like running a business. Yep. It's like, I get it. You don't want to go broke, but I want you to want to win. Like, I love that passion behind it. So, and I wonder if these guys, like, Bezos and Jay-Z, like obviously these guys want to at least like make some money off of this, but do they put winning above all else? Do they put culture? Do they put like ingenuity, you know, in sports?
Right.
Like give me a new experience. Give me something I've
actually,
never had.
man, I think that you would hope from those two guys that they've done well enough in their main careers that this is the fun.
Right. This is the hobby.
Yeah.
This is the like dude, imagine Bezos and you got fucking drones dropping off your hot dog and shit in the middle of the stadium, bro. Oh man, the music.
Dude, that's coming. Did you see the fucking blimp?
Yeah, dude.
With the dispersing, he has like this blimp.
The blimp
out.
is throwing out other
throwing
drones,
out
right?
drones,
bro,
yeah.
This shit is something out of the like some steampunk like movie. I can't wait till that shit goes down. So like seeing somebody like him, I go, what can you do? Because I do remember Mark Cuban, when Mark Cuban came in, to go back to him, is he was like, no, we got to make the locker rooms dope.
Yep.
And we got to make the airplane dope. And we got to make, and he made their airplane was like super decked out. It was like this big ass 747 and he made it like super cool. And then he made the locker room super cool. He's like, nah, throw some PlayStations in that bitch and some ping pong tables. I don't think people remember he started that shit. Now every college team has an amazing facility. Every pro team has an amazing facility, except for the Cleveland Browns or the Bengals. Like everybody else has
anybody in Ohio.
Yeah, anybody in Ohio, I don't give a fuck. But the rest of these guys put all this money into these facilities. Mark Cuban was like the pioneer of, if your players feel good, they'll do good, they'll do all this stuff. Like you got to make them comfortable, you know. Like I'm like, he changed that around. It's normal to us now, but it wasn't when Mark Cuban took over. And so I'm excited, man, to see like what a Bezos and a McConaughey and a Jay and all like that.
Yeah,
I hope they get approved, man, and the good old boys club lets them in, man. I'm hoping Bezos is white enough that they'll just be like, and McConaughey, you know, McConaughey has guns, let him in. He's like, he's got guns in the twang. Let us in.
All right, man. I know we're getting low on time here. Let me hit you off with this one thing, man. I read this thing this week. Let me find it here. It was a post by Sahil Bloom. He's on Instagram. You guys can follow him if you want to. But he's talked about some data around who you spend your time with.
Okay.
And so there's a few things here. So the first one is like parents and siblings. It peaks in childhood and declines after 20. So pay attention, folks.
Okay. So
parents and siblings, right? Peaks, the time that you spend with them peak in childhood, but after you turn 20, it just is a slow decline.
Falls off. Okay.
Yep.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Time spent with friends peaks at 18 and declines sharply to a low baseline. Okay. Time spent with your partner trends upward until death.
Oh wow, I can see that because you're staying home more, right? The older you get, you retire. Okay.
So you spend a lot of time with these people, right?
Okay.
Time spent with children peaks in your 30s and declines sharply thereafter.
In your like children in general, or your children?
No. So with time with your children.
Okay.
So. And I would imagine this is based on when people typically have children. Like I didn't have children until I was 33. Was my first child.
This isn't like, okay, I see what you're saying.
So
in your 30s.
It's like for you yourself.
Got it. Okay.
So if you have children in your 20s, then the time peaks in sometime in your 30s, and then it sharply declines thereafter.
I can see that right now. Like I feel like I'm peak like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then you got time spent with coworkers. Steady during their prime working years from 20 to 60.
Okay.
All right.
It's kind of a forced.
Yeah, it is forced. Time spent alone steadily increases throughout your life.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess because people start to fall off. Like you said, coworkers start to fall off. Kids go to college.
Yep.
Like, okay.
So here was his summary. I thought this was really cool. So listen up, people. Family time is limited. So cherish it. Friend time is limited. So prioritize the real ones. Partner time is significant. So don't settle.
Yeah.
Children time is precious. So be present.
Yep.
Coworker time is significant. So find the people that give you energy.
Well,
alone time is highest. So love yourself.
That's so true, man. Yeah.
Yes.
And then if you can't spend time with yourself, you can't spend time with other people. It
Oh
also,
my God.
I also, there's that saying, like, you are who you surround yourself with.
Yep.
And so, like that, like you said, like you surround yourself with good coworkers, you surround yourself with, like, a good partner, you surround yourself with, your kids. Hopefully you mold them into good people that people want to be around. Because I wholeheartedly believe that you are who you surround yourself with. Like, if you surround yourself with trash individuals, like whether they be friends or family or whatever, like you may not be a trash person, but you're not necessarily going to accomplish much.
Right. Like your ability to excel. Right,
correct. You're right. That's a perfect way to describe it. Your ability to excel is
will be
going to
limited.
decline. Right. Very limited because you're surrounding yourself with people who are holding you back.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
So on that, people, take care of yourself, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.
Peace.
Peace.